네, 그럼 시작해 보겠습니다. ICNX 2025에 함께해 준 여러분 진심으로 환영합니다. 먼저 인사드리겠습니다. 저는 오늘 진행을 맡게 된 아나운서 손진입니다. 여러분 만나서 반갑습니다. AI와 첨단 영상 미디어가 열어가는 K 콘텐츠와 엔터테크 산업의 미래를 위해서 국내외 전문가들과 글로벌 리더들이 모여서 새로운 방향과 비전을 모색하는 ICNX 2025. 첫째 날인 16일은 AI가 만드는 엔터테크 생태계의 대전환이라는 주제로 오후 5시 30분까지 엔터테크 산업의 최신 트렌드와 인사이트를 전해줄 다양한 세션이 진행될 예정입니다. 첫 번째 키노트 스피치는 South by Southwest 휴 포레스트 전 대표가 From Austin to Asia, 첨단 영상 미디어와 엔터테크 혁신의 확산이라는 주제로 ICNX 2025 첫째 날의 여정을 시작해 주시겠습니다. 그러면 휴 포레스트 대표를 무대 위로 모셔보겠습니다. 환영의 박수 부탁드립니다. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcome Mr. Hugh Forrest to the stage with a warm round of applause. 휴 포레스트 대표는 30년 이상 South by Southwest를 이끌며 음악, 영화, 기술이 융합된 세계적인 혁신 플랫폼으로 성장시킨 세계적인 기업가입니다. 다양한 엔터테크 발전 사례와 기회를 조망해 주실 예정입니다. 그럼 지금부터 휴 포레스트 대표의 키노트 스피치를 청해 듣겠습니다. And now I present the keynote speech by Mr. Hugh Forrest.
Thank you. Good morning. I am so excited to be here in Korea and at ICNX. This is my 4th trip to your amazing country. Each of those trips has been incredible. I love the creativity, the very different culture, the startup energy. And on that note of startup energy, I'm so excited that so many young people are here today. The young people are the future, and hopefully can learn from old folks like us. I'm also deeply honored to help kick off ICNX 2025, and I'm excited about this concept of beyond intelligence into experience, because the concept of experiences is very important to me, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later in my presentation. The themes of AI and immersive technology are also very important in today's world. I'll talk more about this in context of, I'll talk more about later in my presentation of what ICNX can learn from what I've learned at South by Southwest, and more importantly, what attendees such as you all can learn from South by Southwest in whatever endeavor you are in. So again, my name is Hugh Forrest. I started at South by Southwest in 1989. The first year of the event was 1987. I was the first paid employee at South by Southwest. In fact, I was hired because I had a computer and they didn't. So that is a lesson in the importance of having the right hardware at the right time. I led what was the interactive portion of the event starting in 1994, which is when we kicked off the technology interactive portion. Eventually I became the chief programming officer at South by Southwest, and eventually I became president of the event. I ended my career there in April 2025, and I now lead a company called Gather and Grow Experiences, which I started in August 2025. Certainly had a great 30-year run at South by Southwest. Those early days, we really didn't know what we were doing, but we knew that we believed in the power of human creativity. And 35 years later, I'm proud that South by Southwest, that power of human creativity was what continued to propel South by Southwest. I think that goal, that idea of human creativity is even more important now in the age of AI. AI is wonderful, but human creativity is even more important. We can't ever lose sight of that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few more minutes. For those of you who are wondering, what is South by Southwest? It is a multi-day celebration of human creativity that happens every March in Austin, Texas. It started as a music-only event in 1987. We again added film and what was then called multimedia in 1994. Multimedia, the name eventually changed to interactive. It's now called Innovation. The event brings tens of thousands of attendees from all over the world to Austin every spring. The economic impact of South by Southwest on the city of Austin is about $370 million. That's about 2/3 of a US Super Bowl. Even more so, South by Southwest has positioned Austin as a center of creativity and innovation and entrepreneurism. Over the last 10 years, Austin has emerged as one of the fastest growing cities in the United States, and South by Southwest has had a small role in that. We've now started 2 international events, one in Europe called South by Southwest London, and one in Australia called South by Southwest Sydney, which is in fact going on this week. South by Southwest is very, very unique in the fact that it brings together, it is both a conference and a festival. People can learn, people can do business, and they can do it all in a fun environment. It brings many, many, many different kinds of people together from many different industries and from many different backgrounds. So it has everything from athletes to advertising industry professionals, and it has a strong, strong, strong focus on entrepreneurism in all its many forms. 10 years ago, we added, or 15 years ago, we added an educational component to the event called South by Southwest EDU, and that has been very compelling also. One of the things that I'm most proud of South by Southwest is that it brings so many different countries together, and I think that bringing people together, different countries together, different kinds of people together, face to face, like what we're doing today, is incredibly, incredibly important. We'll talk more about that later also. I think it's also important that South by Southwest happens in the spring. So there's that real life metaphor of rebirth, of inspiration, of starting over, of starting something new. Now, I can go on and try to talk about South by Southwest forever and ever. It's really hard to understand if you haven't been there. But what is slightly easier to understand is a video. So I'm going to play you a 2-minute video from the 2024 event, which will give you a little more context on what we do at South by Southwest, and then I'll talk about some of the speakers, some of the bands, some of the movie stars that have been there in recent years. Here we go on the video.
Hi, I'm Jake Gyllenhaal.
I'm Kendra Scott.
Hi, I'm Natalie Morales, and this is South by Southwest.
Welcome to South by Southwest 2024. More importantly, welcome to International Women's Day.
Firstly, I'm so excited to be here and to be with such incredible women, so much brilliance on this panel, and just an amazing way to celebrate International Women's Day. And you know, the key thing that I think needs to be focused on in terms of equity is that it's not a zero-sum game. Just because someone else has the same advantage that you do doesn't mean that you're losing anything.
South by is always really welcoming and fun. I wanted to do this movie so that I could work with Jake Gyllenhaal. He's a good-ass actor.
It's a creative, fun place, but I think a place that also takes creativity very seriously. And so that balance of the two is what makes South by Southwest so wonderful.
What up, South by Southwest? We love you very much.
This is a place here at South by Southwest to learn from others, to be your best creative self. And when anyone comes here, they feel this.
We feel everything here. You identify with others who are sharing the same experience.
That's what humor is you're finding a moment where you connect with someone in a shared moment of truth.
Humor is the closest you can get to a person without touching them.
Wow.
As I would say in session, sit with this for a minute.
So again, that is a video from the 2024 event. There are many more of those online at the South by Southwest YouTube page. A quick review of some of the global leaders who have spoken at South by Southwest in recent years. We were fortunate enough to have Barack Obama speak in 2016 at South by Southwest. He was there, one, because it was the last year of his presidency. Two, he was a big believer, or is a big believer, in the power of technology, and South by Southwest was a great place for him to show that belief. A year later, Joe Biden spoke about his investment in the cancer moonshot. We've had Elon Musk speak twice at South by Southwest in 2013 and 2018. In fact, Elon has now moved to Austin. Kara Swisher of the podcast Pivot has spoken many times at South by Southwest. She is, in fact, in the South by Southwest Hall of Fame. You saw Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, in the video. She was part of the special panel in 2024 about International Women's Day. Arnold Schwarzenegger spoke at South by Southwest 2018. Lady Gaga spoke in 2013. And a very young Mark Zuckerberg spoke in 2008. This woman, Amy Webb, does a presentation every year on 10 emerging tech trends. That is extremely popular because people come to an event like South by Southwest to learn about the future, and she certainly tells them about the future. And then we started with Barack Obama, and we'll end with Michelle Obama in terms of high-level speakers. She spoke in 2016 as well as 2025. Lots of other high or big-name speakers we had at the event, ranging from Bill Gates, Mary Barra from GM, Dr. Brene Brown, Issa Rae, Peter Thiel, Mark Cuban, Whitney Wolf, Oprah Winfrey, Edward Snowden, Shaquille O'Neal, plus many, 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 many others. From the music side of the fence, Bruce Springsteen performed at South by Southwest in 2014. I'm a huge Bruce fan, so I've got to include that one first. Speaking of legendary performers, Johnny Cash performed at South by Southwest in 1994. The gentleman to his right is a very young Beck. Prince was at South by Southwest in 2013, played a legendary set until 5 a.m. in the morning. Also, Justin Timberlake at South by Southwest in 2013. Lizzo had one of her breakout performances at South by Southwest in 2014. If you're into country and western, Garth Brooks performed in 2017. And of course, we are cognizant of global trends and have had many K-pop bands at South by Southwest. This was ICON performing in 2019. Some of the other bands, many other bands that have performed at South by Southwest range from Snoop Dogg, Kanye West, The Strokes, Iggy Pop, Willie Nelson, Cheap Trick, Katy Perry, George Clinton, The Flaming Lips, Patti Smith, The Lumineers, plus many, many more. On the film and TV side, probably our biggest premiere ever was Everything Everywhere All at Once, which premiered at South by Southwest 2023 and won the Academy Award for Best Picture a year later in 2024. That is some of the cast from Everything Everywhere All at Once after the premiere. That same year, or a year later in 2024, Ryan Gosling was at South by Southwest talking about The Fall Guy. Steven Spielberg was at South by Southwest in 2018 talking about Ready Player One. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck at South by Southwest 2023 talking about their film Air. And then, as you saw in the video, Conor McGregor and Jake Gyllenhaal in 2024 talking about Roadhouse. We also had Three Body Problem premiere at South by Southwest in 2024, and the Apple TV miniseries Beef premiered at South by Southwest also. Some of the others, actors and movie stars that have been at South by Southwest range from Matthew McConaughey, Anna Kendrick, Bill Murray, Pedro Pascal, Robert Duvall, Nicole Kidman, Emma Stone, Sylvia Sweeney, plus many, many, many more. One of the things that makes South by Southwest so special is that we mix these various communities together. That is relatively unique in the world of conferences. The philosophy has always been at South by Southwest that creative people can learn from other creative people in their own industry, but that even more so, they can learn from creative people in other industries. So putting so many creative people together in a city, Austin, Texas, that has always celebrated and cultivated creativity has been a recipe for amazing innovation. Indeed, this formula has hatched some of the world's most innovative new technologies. So now that you know a little bit more about what South by Southwest is, let me talk about some of the most important technologies, entertainment technologies and apps that have come out of the event. Probably the most important was 2007 when Twitter essentially launched at South by Southwest. This is a photo of what was then called the South by Southwest Web Awards. That is a very young Jack Dorsey without a beard accepting for Twitter. That is Ev Williams to his left, and that is some of the other Twitter crew there. Twitter definitely changed the entire complexion of South by Southwest. Previous to 2007, South by Southwest was very much an event focused on music. Afterwards, it became more of an event focused on tech. Every new startup around the US, around the world, wanted to come to South by Southwest to get the same kind of bump that Twitter did. Every VC wanted to come to South by Southwest to discover the next Twitter. In addition to changing the course of South by Southwest, Twitter really changed the trajectory of society in so many ways. It launched this idea of short-form communication, of short-form content, of short-form entertainment. Those things are pretty good, and we all understand, I think, how impactful short-form content is in today's world. Twitter, we can also say, very much started this trend of decentralization of news as well as polarization of news, and those are not necessarily good things in our current world. I do have some degree of remorse that South by Southwest very much was in the center of the social media revolution. We very much pushed the importance of social media, and I wish in retrospect we could have been, or we would have been, a little more critical or a little more wary of some of the consequences then. But hindsight's always 20/20. Again, Twitter launched in 2007. 2 years later, there was an app called Foursquare that launched, very much an entertainment tech app also, because it allowed people to see where their friends had checked in during the event. Foursquare did not have quite the same life as Twitter did, but created some interesting ramifications in society. Uber was essentially hatched at South by Southwest in a late night brainstorming session between some of the founders, including Travis, and Airbnb had its first customer at South by Southwest. 8 years after Twitter, another big event. We had a technology called Meerkat launch at South by Southwest. Probably no one's heard of Meerkat because it was relatively short-lived, but it was a live streaming platform, and it was really the first one to gain a lot of attention, a lot of traction. It did not survive that long. Eventually it pivoted to something called House Party, but it spawned so many other new technologies that have changed the way society digests content and the way society experiences things. While very different, the success of Meerkat and Twitter at South by Southwest followed the same simple rule, which was that at an event like South by Southwest that brings together so many creative people, any kind of platform, any kind of entertainment tech that helped people better digest the event would be very, very popular. So again, these are two big things that came out, two big technologies that came out of South by Southwest that have had a big impact on the world. Less a specific technology and more part of the event. For the past 10, 15 years, we've had a thing called the XR Experience at South by Southwest. It is a place where people can see where immersive technology is going. It is one of the most popular exhibitions at the event. It's traditionally showcased some of the most innovative AR, VR, XR projects. We know that AR, VR, XR technologies have yet to hit widespread mainstream adoption, but I think we'll begin to see that more as these headsets become less obtrusive, become smaller, and gain more functionality with AI. When we talk about immersive technologies, or when I talk about immersive technologies, I am not an expert in that field, but our next speaker in the stage, Eric Weaver, is. In fact, he had a installation at the XR Experience several years ago, and he can talk more about that. So that's coming up right after me. When we think of groundbreaking new technologies, of course, the most important groundbreaking new technology out there is AI, which we're going to cover a lot of in the next 2 days. The strengths and weaknesses of AI at South by Southwest are as follows. We cover, for the last 2 years, we've covered AI extremely aggressively in terms of all our content, whether it's how AI impacts health, whether it's how it impacts athletes, whether how AI impacts food, we've covered it very, very aggressively. What I think we have not done as well as we could with South by Southwest is use AI to help people connect with each other better. I think that I know that the main value people get out of going to events, going to experiences, is connecting with other people, and I really wish that we could have done more with AI to let you know who the people you want to connect with are, or who people you might not think you want to connect with, and why connecting with them was good. So again, strengths and weaknesses of AI at South by Southwest were as follows. I also want to say, and I hope I am setting up some of the other speakers over the next 2 days who may have differing points. In my mind, AI is great, but unregulated AI is very, very dangerous. Reflecting on where we were with social media at South by Southwest 10 or 15 years ago, we thought social media was going to change everything for the better, was going to heal divisions in society, was going to make us all closer. Social media has done a lot of tremendous things, but we know that it has, in fact, made many of the divisions in our society much worse, has increased polarization extremely much. We certainly didn't think of all the negative consequences of social media when we were pushing it very, very hard at South by Southwest 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I think that was a mistake. And so I think we learned from that mistake, and in my mind, we again put more guardrails and guide rails on AI. I was lucky enough to hear Yuval Harari speak about AI at an event in Brazil a few months ago. And I encourage you all to read or watch what he says. Yuval Harari is a thinker, philosopher, writer. He talks about how every AI company says that they want to work with their competitors, but their competitors won't work with them. And I think that's a perfect scenario for government agencies to step in and do a little bit more here. I do think Asia is slightly more attuned to this idea of regulation than we are in the US, particularly in the current administration in the US, which wants 10 years of no regulation. That said, I'm heartened by recent AI regulations passed in California. Not necessarily a popular opinion in this room, but again, I think AI needs to be regulated. And I think what we've learned from social media at events like South by Southwest are evidence to why that is needed. Now, speaking of learning, 7 things that I think that you all can learn from what I have learned and what we have learned at South by Southwest are as follows. First and foremost, community matters most, and community means creating face-to-face interactions. Face-to-face is what we're doing now. Face-to-face is in person. I'm a strong, strong believer that, again, getting people together, engaging in the oldest technology in the book, which is the handshake, is the way that we get out of these divisions within our societies, within countries. It's the way that we realize that we have much more in common than we have apart. Commonalities can lead to strong connections. Strong connections lead to new opportunities. I very much believe in building bridges as opposed to tearing them down. And I'm sorry that that mindset is a little bit foreign to a lot of the leadership that's coming out of the US at present. So again, community matters most, and community means creating face-to-face interactions. I'll also tell you that while I presided over this huge technology and entertainment event in Austin, Texas, I'll tell you that scale is the enemy of community. You make more impactful connections in smaller get-togethers where it's easier to meet people. So again, aim for small things that can grow as opposed to aiming for scale. If you want quantity, create quality, and quantity will eventually follow. But again, scale is the enemy of community. I would also encourage you here to try not to copy others, lean into your own strengths as a community. South by Southwest started as a music event in Austin because music was particularly strong in Austin in 1987. We added film and multimedia because the film industry in Austin was emerging in 1994, as was the technology industry. But those are the strengths in Austin, and they are not necessarily the strengths here. Some of the strengths in Korea are transportation, this idea of advanced visual infrastructure, and particularly this idea of K-content, meaning anime, film, video games, and lots of other things there. So again, lean into what you do well, and then that's the best way to create compelling events. I also encourage you to strive for 12-month engagement with your community, not just one event, one time of the year. What you want is multiple events, multiple touch points where you connect with your community, learn from your community that way. Somewhat similarly, I encourage you to take a bottom-up approach, not top-down in terms of organization. And bottom-up really means listen, listen, listen to your community. The more you listen, the stronger an event, organization, experience that you can build. Point number 6 here, most communities want experiences, not events. It's certainly in English, I tend to say events, but really mean experiences. And again, I'm glad that experience is really in the name of this event. Experience means transformation, not simply information. Experience means that the content is unique, it's special, it's memorable, it's life-changing, and experience encourages interaction between attendees. So create experiences, not simply events. And then last but not least here, I encourage you to embrace a long-term approach to what you and your community are building. South by Southwest is really, really neat in a lot of ways, but you've got to realize that South by Southwest took 30 years to build, 35 years to build to where it is now. And you can't expect to build something like that overnight. So again, take a long-term approach to this, and whatever you're doing, don't be discouraged by temporary setbacks. Grow organically, grow slowly, and that's the path to something really, really memorable. How to get involved with South by Southwest 2026. The dates for the 2026 event are March 12th through 16th in Austin, Texas. You can learn more about South by Southwest at SXSW.com. Unfortunately, the deadline has already passed for speaking proposals, as the deadline has passed for Film and TV Fest applications. But the deadline for bands to perform at the music festival is November 21st. So if you're in a band, if your friends are in a band, please get your application in the next month. We do have a Korean rep. That rep is named Sunny Kim. You can reach her at sunny@sxsw.com. As a reminder, I am no longer at South by Southwest, but I am still a huge fan of the event and encourage you to think about coming to Austin in March 2026 or some future spring. It is, again, a life-changing experience. For myself, I started a new company called Gather and Grow Experiences. This, again, aligns with my feeling that experiences are extremely important and that bringing communities together is even more important. The goal of this new company is to create compelling, community-focused experiences. Those experiences can happen in Austin and around the world. I'm currently working with 2 clients, one in LA and then one in Brazil. You can connect with me at hughwforrest@gmail.com. You can also find me at hughwforrest.com, or you can connect with me at LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Hugh Forrest. Thanks again for listening to me speak today. Again, it's been a huge honor to help kick off this event. I look forward to connecting with you all at the lunch break or throughout the day, and I am very excited about the next 2 days of presentations about AI, about immersive technology, about entertainment tech, and about what you all are trying to do here. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you for the insightful speech. So Mr. Forrest will remain at the center of the stage to take questions from the audience. Please give Mr. Forrest another big round of applause. 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. So we will now open the floor for question. If you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand. Our staff will bring a microphone to you. 이제 질문을 받아보겠습니다. 자유롭게 궁금한 점이 있으신 분들은 손을 들어주시면 저희 스태프분들께서 마이크를 전달해 드리도록 하겠습니다. 질문이 있으신 분 계실까요? 손을 들어주시면 저희 스태프분들께서 마이크를 전달해 드리도록 하겠습니다. 질문을 한 분께 한번 받아보도록 하겠습니다. 네, 마이크 전달해 주시면 질문을 받아보겠습니다.
예, 인천연구원의 서복만이라고 합니다. 제가 발표 잘 들었고요. 잠깐 좀 질문을 드리고 싶은 게 이제 작은 커뮤니티 이벤트를 작은 커뮤니티 차원에서 처음에 진행하는 것들이 상당히 중요하다는 말씀을 잘 들었습니다. 그래서 이제 어떻게 보면 사우스 바이 사우스 웨스트가 지금은 상당히 글로벌한 이벤트가 됐는데 이 작은 커뮤니티에서 이 지역 차원이나 이 국가 차원의 이벤트로 성장하고 그 차원에서 다시 글로벌 차원으로 이렇게 이 스케일이 커졌지 않습니까? 그런 단계별로 좀 중요한 어떤 계기가 있었거나 아니면은 어떻게 보면 이 이벤트를 이끌어 오신 분으로서 그런 그 확장을 고민하는 과정에서 가장 중요하게 생각했던 그 요소들이라든지 이런 것들이 있었으면 좀 말씀해 주시면 감사하겠습니다.
Great question, thank you. Let me start a little bit in reverse, is that me talking about scale is the enemy of community obviously is a little bit ironic given how big South by Southwest is, but I will say that in the last decade, one of our biggest goals at South by Southwest was trying to break down this large event into much smaller, digestible communities. So places where 50 or 100 people could gather together as opposed to 5,000 people. And again, that is much easier to make connections, create new opportunities in a smaller group like that. In terms of how we scaled South by Southwest, it was always just trying to grow a little bit every year, reach out to new communities, engage new communities, reach out year-round to these communities, figure out ways to engage year-round. I am very much a belief in this idea that markets are conversations. So again, the more that you can talk with your audience, your potential audience, the more you can grow your audience. We certainly saw a huge spike in growth after the Twitter release in 2007. But other years a little more steady in terms of growth. And again, that growth was achieved just by trying to connect with as many people as possible, trying to communicate what we were doing with as many people as possible, using people who had been to South by Southwest to spread word about the event through their social media, their social contacts. And again, just this idea that we wanted long-term organic growth, and that would be the healthiest thing for what we were establishing. But again, great question. Thank you.
네, 답변 감사합니다. 시간 관계상 저희가 한 분께만 질문을 받을 수 있다는 점 양해 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다. So before we close, could you please share your final thought on participating in ICNX 2025 and final message for us?
This is a great experience. Again, I love being in Korea. I love seeing what you all are doing. I love hearing about trying to create a nexus of creativity here, of new technology here. I'm excited to see how this plays out over the next few years. So again, congrats on what you all are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Our sincere thanks to Mr. Hugh Forrest and everyone in the audience for your thoughtful attention. Let's give Mr. Forrest another big round of applause. 네, 이렇게 유익한 인사이트를 얻을 수 있었던 시간이었습니다. 이상으로 첫 번째 키노트 세션을 모두 마치겠습니다. 점심 식사 후에 13시 정각에 할리우드 엔터테크 연구 사례와 첨단 영상 제작 혁신을 주제로 USC 엔터테인먼트 테크놀로지 센터 에릭 위버 가상 적응형 프로덕션 소장님의 키노트 스피치가 진행될 예정이오니 많은 관심과 참여 부탁드리겠습니다. 모든 세션을 현장 접수를 통해서 참석이 가능합니다. 사전 예약을 못하신 분들께서는 등록 데스크에서 접수를 해주시면 감사하겠습니다. 그리고 더 나은 ICNX 2021을 만들기 위해서 오늘 참여하신 세션에 대한 만족도 조사를 진행하고 있습니다. 지금 영상에 보이는 QR코드, 지금 영상이 곧 보일 텐데요. QR코드를 접속하셔서 설문에 참여하신 분들께 행사 종료 후에 추첨을 통해서 소정의 선물을 드린다고 하니까요. 많은 참여 부탁드리겠습니다. 그럼 13시까지 휴식 시간 가지고 잠시 후에 뵙겠습니다. 여러분 감사합니다.